Yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and welcome to Friday Fun Day. I'm super excited about this particular pattern. This is our Watermelon Stuffie. You can make it with the eyes and the smile, or you can just leave it blank. Or you can do it both ways like I have. I just love it. It's super fun. It measures 13 inches long, and it's about 9 inches from top to bottom. And of course, depends on how much stuffing you put in it, how firm it actually is. It's super fun to make. It's also really easy. We're using acrylic yarns for this because it is a toy, but you can make it out of cotton as well. I love how we did the edge of the watermelon here and alternating the two shades of green to look like the real rind of a watermelon. And I think it looks really cute and really fun. It's a great decoration for summer. If you're having parties all summer and picnics, get-togethers at the lake or the pool or just in your backyard, this makes a fun toy. You can throw it around, you can set it up as decoration, make one for all the kids. It's just a really, really fun summer stuffy. It's so cute. All right, now you can find the complete pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. All right, so what do we need to make our fun watermelon stuffy? Well, of course, you're going to need some polyester fiber fill, and the amount you need really just depends on how much tightly you want to stuff your watermelon. Okay, now we're going to be using all acrylic medium weight number 4 yarns. You're going to need about 1.5 ounces of the red, okay, and then you're going to need about 1 ounce of the green, the dark green, and then maybe 1/2 ounce of the pink and white. Now these are all Red Heart Super Saver, the red, the pink, the white, and the bright green. This olive green is Hobby Lobby. I love this yarn because I couldn't find that in my Red Heart yarns. Okay, so you're going to need a bright red, you're going to need a nice pink, you'll need white, you'll need a bright green, and then a deeper green. And of course, your shades don't have to be exactly as mine. And if you wanted to do it all in pink, that would be really cute too. All right, of course, you need white for the eyes. We did the seeds in the dark green, and then the little mouth in the bright pink. And again, you don't have to add the mouth and the eyes. You can do it as just a watermelon for decoration. But I'm certain you're going to want to put those eyes and that little smile on there. It just makes it so cute. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook, which is a 5mm crochet hook. You need a needle for weaving in ends and sewing on your eyes and your seeds and smile. And then of course you're going to need a pair of scissors. So the way we're going to be making the watermelon is we're going to make it all in a circle, and then we'll fold it in half. We'll stitch up the side, and then we'll stuff it and then finish stitching it up. Okay, so we're going to be making a circle. So we're starting with our red. We're making our slip knot. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put our tail of yarn over our hook and pull that through. And then we'll make that little stay knot. Oops, there we go. Now we'll go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And now we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets in that circle, so we have a total of 10. There's 3, 4, 5, whoops, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And let's count just to make sure I did that correctly. Here's our chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. we're going to join to our chain 3 with the slip stitch, and we'll go ahead and chain 3. But before we go to row 2, we're going to go ahead and pull on that tail of yarn, and we're going to go ahead and just weave this in. Now we are going to be changing colors through our circle, so we'll probably have a little bit more weaving in, but that's a nice thing about when you make a stuffie is it's all going to be weaved in on the inside, and we'll have a nice and neat appearance. So don't worry too much about that. All right, let me clip that off. And so now we have round or row 1. We'll be calling it rows today since we're not stitching in the round. 10 double crochets for row 1. All right, let's do row 2. We're going to place a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of our double crochets around. So 2 double crochets in each of our double crochets all the way around. And then we'll join back to our chain 3. We placed a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3 and then 2 in each of our double crochets. So we have 20 double crochets for row 2. We're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. And now for row 3, we're basically doing the same thing we did on row 2. We're just going to have more stitches. So we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and again place 2 double crochets in each. 2 in each of our double crochets, working all the way around. So row 1 we had 10, row 2 we had 20, and row 3 we're going to have 40 double crochets. We'll repeat this all the way around and again join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 3. We have 40 double crochets. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. And you can see that makes a nice flat center for our circle. Now on row 4, we're not going to stitch in the same stitch as our chain 3. We're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. All right, so that gives us 3 double crochets. Our chain 3 counts as 1, and then we stitch 2 more. Then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next stitch. All right, and so what our repeat is for row 3 is 1 double crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. So we're stitching what I call 3 and 2. 1 double crochet in the next 3 and 2 in the next. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And we'll repeat this working all the way around our circle and join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 4, stitching 1 double crochet in the next 3 and 2 in the next, repeating that all the way around. I joined to my chain 3 with a slip stitch and chained 3. And so for row 4, we have 50 double crochets. All right, row 5 is similar. We're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 3 because our first chain 3 there counts as our first double crochet. So we have 4 double crochets. We have our chain 3 and our 3 double crochets. And then we stitch 2 double crochets in the next. And so our repeat for row 5 is 1 double crochet in the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. All right, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. One double crochet in the next 4, 2 in the next, and repeat all the way around. And again, we'll join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 5, and for row 5 we have 60 double crochets. And again, we repeated 4 and 2. All right, we're going to do one more row in the red, and we're going to do 1 double crochet in the next 4, and that will give us 5 double crochets. So this is 3, 4, 5, because our chain 3 counted as our first, and then we stitched 4 more, and then we stitched 2 double crochets in the next 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 6 is 1 double crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 double crochets in the next. All right, so we're doing 1 double crochet in the next 5, 2 in the next, and repeating all the way around again, and join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 6. We repeated 1 double crochet in the next 5, 2 in the next, all the way around. I joined in my chain 3, but I didn't chain 3 because we're finished with our red, and we're going to bring in our pink yarn. All right, so we're bringing our pink, and then we'll chain 3. When changing colors, you always want to make sure that you do your chain 3 in the next row if it counts as your first stitch, or you'll have one that's red instead of pink, and that won't look very tidy. All right, so what we're going to do, let me pull out some yarn here. For row 7 is we're going to place a double crochet in the next 6. And so since our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, I stitched 5, so that gives us 6 double crochets, and then we stitch 2 in the next, 1 and 2. And so our repeat for row 7 is 1 double crochet in the next 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then 2 double crochets in the next. So we're continuing on with our increases. I just changed colors, and this is where we want our watermelon to look like it's blending from that red to the pink, and then our next row we're going to use white. I have completed row 7. We did 1 double crochet in the next 6, and then 2 in the next, all the way around. Then I joined back to my chain 3, but I didn't chain 3 again because we're going to be changing to our white yarn. So I'm going to clip that, and we're going to bring in our white. And we're only going to chain 1, okay? And so what we're going to do for row 8 is we'll go right in that first stitch, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the next, 1 and 2. Okay, and so for row 8 we're doing single crochets, one in each of the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then 2 single crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And we did single crochets because we want this white row just to be small. We don't want it to be as tall as our double crochet row. So we'll repeat that 7 and 2 all the way around again, and this time we're going to join back to that first single crochet. So I have completed row 8, and we have 90 single crochets around our edge, and we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch, and we're going to cut our white yarn, and we'll set that aside for when we need to make our eyes. All right, so now we're going to bring in our green, and this is the lime green. Remember, we're using 2 colors of green, and we're using the lime green on this one, or to begin with, and then when we bring in the dark green, we'll be alternating. Okay, so we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do that little stay knot. And what I do on each one of these on the back, I just wanted to show you, as I do that little stay knot, it's not really a knot, it just helps them stay where they're supposed to be, and then I can come back in and weave those in without those getting in the way while I'm trying to stitch, because we are changing colors quite often in this portion. And so what we're going to do for row 9 is our chain 3 here counts as our first, and we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because our chain 3 counted as our first, and then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the next. So we're back to doing double crochets on this row. All right, let's get some more yarn out here. All right, so 1 double crochet in the next 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And we'll repeat this. 8 double crochets, 2 in the next, all the way around, and join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 9, and that is our row of light green. We have 100 double crochets. Okay, so now what we're going to do on row 10 and 11 is we're going to alternate the dark green and the light green. So I've gone ahead and joined and chained 3. So I've got my chain 3. I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch, but I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to do the first 2 loops. Then I'm going to grab my next color, which is my dark green, and finish that. All right. Now, this is the part, it's a little tricky, but it makes it look super pretty. All right, so I'm going to hold that string there because we're going to need that to weave that in later. All right, and we're going to stitch 2 double crochets in our dark green, and we're going to stitch over this light green, okay? So we'll stitch our double crochet, then we'll stitch our next one, only we won't finish it. We'll go through the first 2 loops, then we'll grab up that light green and finish, and then we'll repeat this with the light green. We'll stitch 1 double crochet, we're stitching over that dark green, then we'll go in and we'll only do part of it, and then we'll finish it with the dark green. and that gives us nice, crisp looking stitches. All right, and so we'll do this all the way around. We are not adding any more stitches here. This is the edge or the rind of our watermelon. All right, so 2 double crochets with the dark green, so we'll stitch 1, and then we'll start our next one and finish it with the light green. And again, we're stitching over the color that we're not using for a nice, neat appearance. All right, I'm going to do it again so you can see it nice and slow. 1 double crochet with the dark green. Then we'll do our next double crochet, but we'll finish it with our light green. And then we'll do 2 in the light green. Finishing the second one with the dark green. And again, we're stitching over those yarns for a nice, neat appearance. Now, this is the rind, so we're not adding anymore because it's going to sit a little bit like this so that it's on the top and the bottom of our watermelon, okay? So we're going to repeat this all the way around, alternating 2 double crochets with the dark and 2 double crochets with the light green. And remember to finish off that second double crochet with the next color. And we're stitching over the strand of yarn we're not using at the time for a nice crisp appearance. I have completed row 10, and we still have 100 double crochets. We did not increase, and you'll notice that it's starting to curl up some, and that is what we want it to do on the edge. Okay, and so we did 2 alternating light and dark all the way around, and what we're going to do for row 11 is we're just going to repeat what we just did. All right, so I've joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. So then I'll double crochet in my light green, I'll finish in my dark green, and then we'll do exactly what we did on the previous row. Changing colors, stitching over our yarn that we're not using so that we have nice solid stripes of light green and dark green all the way around. So what we're doing for row 11 is we're just repeating what we did on row 10. And I really love the effect of this because this light green and dark green really look like the outside of a watermelon. So I have completed that second row all the way around, and I want you to see how nice and tidy that looks, because we stitched over those yarns when we changed colors. Now I do have a little bit of weaving in to do, but before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and cut this light green one because we're going to finish off with the dark green for the edge. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to weave in these ends. And then once I do that, we're going to put this together. And we're going to just single crochet across. We're going to leave an opening and then stuff it. All right, so let me weave these in real quick. So I have it all tidied up on the inside with all my ends, and what you want to do is line up your dark and light greens together so it sort of elongates that stripe that looks like the outside of a watermelon. Okay, and so we'll just make sure that we stitch those together, stitching the front and the back together with single crochets. And by lining up the dark green with the dark green and the light green with the light green, it makes it looks like it has the stripes of the outside of a watermelon. All right. It makes it look pretty cool, I think. All right, so I'm just going to stitch across and leave an opening. And then I'll show you how I stuff it and then close it up. And then all we have left to do are the eyes, the watermelon seeds, and of course, we have to add a cute little smile. So I've stitched it almost all the way across, and I'm leaving a hole here because I want to go ahead and make sure I have enough room to get my hand in there, because I want to stuff this all the way over to this other end. Make sure we get lots of stuffing in there. And of course, the amount of stuffing you put in yours is up to you. But I want mine to, you know, hold its shape nicely. Make sure I've got enough over in that corner. There we go. There, that should do it. That looks nice and stuffed. Just be careful not to stuff it too much that pulls those stitches apart. All right, so now I'm just going to finish closing this up. With those single crochets. And I'll be all ready to make some eyes. I've stitched it all the way across. I'm going to cut my yarn. There we go. I'm going to just use this needle just to tidy up the end there and weave in our end. Make sure there's no hole in the end. We don't want any stuffing coming out of our watermelon. Alrighty. I'll just weave that in. Alright. Now before we add our eyes, I want to go ahead and add the seeds because they're really simple. I'm just going to grab some green yarn. You can use black if you want to. I just like this dark green. I think it works nicely. So we're going to be working on row 3 and 4. And so what I do is I just start down here and I go through the stitch here and here. And we're going to leave that tail out, and then we'll just go in here. And then I'll come down a few stitches. And we're only, you know, it's up to you how many stitches you want for your seeds. Doesn't matter to me. I just sort of randomly do them, going through the stitches in row 4 and row 3, and just sort of make them come around in a circle. And I like to do this after it's stuffed because you can put those stitches through that stuffing and it helps them stay where they're supposed to be. And you might get a little bit of fluff coming through, but it's okay. See how I just bring them around? And we'll go all the way to the back and do it also. And the way to get them to stay where they're supposed to be is to make sure you go through the stitch portion of the stitch where the loops are. It just makes it look nice and tidy. And of course, like I said, you can add more or less stitches. You can even go on other rows if you want to. I just like to make kind of a nice little circle of seeds. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller. Like I always say, you do what works best for you. All right, so I'm back around here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to come up through the back, and this is the back. Kind of swirl around some of that stuffing and come up. All right, then I pull it just a smidge and I'll make a knot. All right, like that. Then we'll cut that and poke that back inside. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. We'll sort of pull it. We'll make a knot. We'll cut it and then we'll stick it back inside in that stuffing. All right, so now I have the seeds on my watermelon. All right, so now we're going to make those fun, silly eyes. So we're going to use white yarn. make our slip knot, and we're going to chain 14 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And I know that seems like a lot, but we're going to make both eyes at the same time. All right, so we're going to slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then place 4 double crochets in the next. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches and slip stitch in the next stitch. Now we're going to skip the next 2 stitches and stitch 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we'll skip the next 2 stitches and slip stitch in that last stitch. There we go. So now we've made only the top or bottom portion of our eye. So we're going to turn our work, we're going to chain 1, we'll slip stitch in the slip stitch, we'll go to that chain where we stitched those 4 double crochets and stitch 4 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll skip the 2 and slip stitch where we slip stitched. Then we'll skip the 2 chains and stitch 4 double crochets in that same stitch that we stitched the 4 double crochets on the other side. Alright, so now what we're going to do is just slip stitch in that slip stitch. And now we have 2 eyes, but they do have holes in them, and we don't want that, all right? So we're going to cut our yarn. We'll tie that off. All right. The next thing we're going to do, whoops, grab my needle, and we're going to take this short tail of yarn on this other end. This is the front, so we're going to go to the back. And we're going to come up here and go around that and close that up. Because we do not want a hole in our watermelon's eyes. Alright, so that's one, and we're going to go ahead and tie that one off. There we go. Now this one we left a long tail because we're going to use that to sew it onto our watermelon. But before we do that, we're going to thread that onto our needle. And we're going to do the same thing on this one that we did on that one. So we're going to go behind here and close up that hole. There we go. Don't want that to pull too much. There we go. Now this time we're going to weave it in, but we're going to bring it right back out the way we came. That way we don't have to add another piece of yarn in order to sew it on. So now it's almost ready to go onto our watermelon, but we need to add those 2 little pupils. I've threaded on my green yarn. I'm using the darker green onto my needle, and we're just going to make 2 French knots. So we're going to come up on the inside here, just off of the center. Leave you a little bit of a tail there. 1, 2, 3 wraps on the needle, and then we'll go right down in that center. Make sure it doesn't pull. And then we're going to go ahead and just tie a little knot back here. And that's going to keep that pupil from coming through. All right, now we don't want to have to cut our thread here. So what we'll do is we'll just go through some of those threads but not going through to the front, because we don't want that to show through. Okay, so we'll just go through like that, couple of those pieces of yarn from the back, and then we'll come up in the front. All right, and then we'll make our French knot. 1, 2, 3, and we'll go down in there, gently pulling. All right, and then we'll just go back through those loops, and then we can hook up to where we started on this side. We'll go ahead and cut that. And this is the way that I do it to keep it nice and tidy on the front side. Just make a little knot so those French knots don't come out, because we're going to sew this on and we won't even see the back of this. All right, and when you turn it over, you've got 2 French knots on your eyes. Isn't that cute? Now I like to put them over here to the side. You could put it right in the middle if you wanted to. You could put it on this side. It's totally up to you. And I also like to keep it on the pink and red portion, but you could put it up higher if you wanted to. It's totally up to you and what you want to do for your little watermelon stuffie. All right, and so you can pin this in place. I don't. I just hold it with my thumb, and I'll just go underneath, and we'll just stitch around those edges. And I usually go down and back up and then come back around. Now, what I do for the center here, so the eyes are more distinct, is I'll go in and I'll make a little loop right here, and that'll pull that eye in just a little bit, and then I'll stitch it in place. All right, and I'll do that on the bottom as well. It just helps the eye become just a little bit more distinct in the circles. All right, and then I'll just go back and forth around. And I do prefer to sew my pieces on after my watermelon is stuffed. Some people like to do it before, but I like to do it after, because as I'm sewing it on, it's going through the stuffing, and I feel like it makes it sit prettier and stay put better. It's just my preference. Remember, what I always say is you do what works best for you. All right? What you're more comfortable stitching, you do it that way. All right, so I'm going to pull that eye in. Okay? And then I'll come back here and make a couple stitches. And I just keep going around until I'm comfortable that eye, I should say eyes, and I want them to have a little bit of poochiness. I kind of pooch them up as I'm sewing them on. But I want them to be secure. I want my grandkids to feel comfortable playing with this and not worrying about it falling apart. All right, isn't that cute? I've got more yarn here. I'm just going to continue going around, and then we'll add the smile. So the eyes are all stitched on. The last thing we need to do is the fun smile. And I like to just make a V. So I'm just going to kind of go up in the stitches, leave that tail of yarn out, line it up on this side. And the size of the smile, of course, is up to you. You can make it wide, you can make it narrow, and you don't have to do this shape either. You can do whatever shape that you want. I just kind of like the V. I think it's kind of cute, kind of playful. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to go to the back. And I'll make that little knot that I like to make. It just holds it in the batting. I like that. Then we'll just stick it in there, and we'll do the same thing with this one. I'm going to make sure that's not pulling too much. There we go. Isn't that cute? I love it. Alrighty, let me get this one all tidied up, and we'll have 2 fun watermelon stuffies. Now I have 2 watermelon stuffies. This one I stuffed a little bit tighter than this one, so it's kind of pooched out more. But you can see the difference when you stuff it more opposed to when you didn't. And I love the eyes. I love the smile. I love the seeds. And I really love the rind of the watermelon. I think it looks really cute. And again, if you don't want to add the face, you can just leave it normal like that. But it's certainly not as cute, is it?